Welcome to High Strangeness, where we ask questions and explore all that is strange and unexpected in our reality.
Welcome to High Strangeness. I'm Tony, and this is the place where we talk about all things strange and unexpected in our reality. Now, one of the most powerful things we can talk about here on the show is the experiences of you, all you out there. And so, even though we will talk about a lot of things on this podcast, I believe there are a lot of people out there that are or have experienced stuff. And so, in today's episode, we're going to hear from someone who has encountered some strange things firsthand. Now, like some of you out there who may have experienced something, it's very understandable to be guarded with who you share that information with. And why? Because some people out there are just mean and could hassle someone for really just sharing something that they've gone through. And so on today's episode, my guest is going to be on the show under a false name, and we're not going to fully disclose who she is on camera either. And that's okay because it's the story and the experience that should be important to you. And then she has the opportunity to share this. You can't, you can believe it or not, that's up to you. And it really doesn't matter because it's a story that needs to go out and be shared with people. Now, there are probably one or more of you out there who will hear this and remember or recognize something in your past. And you'll know for the first time, you're not alone. You're not the only one who's had something like this. So, as I bring in our experiencer today, here's how I envision the interview going, and we'll see where it goes from there. There are a couple or more experiences that she is going to share with us, and then I want to give her the opportunity to talk about what she thinks happened, either because of personal research or just from pondering the experiences. And we'll learn and see what comes from it. Now, I also know she has a cousin who's experienced some things and has some opinions about what she's experienced, and maybe we'll get into that as well through this conversation. So today I'm going to talk with Lisa, or that's the name I'm going to use, and I want to welcome Lisa to the show. So, Lisa, thank you for being here today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your experience. How are you doing, Lisa?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Um, are you having a good week? Is all things well with you these days?
So far, yeah.
Good, good. Well, I want you to relax, and I know this is difficult and sometimes can be something to be nervous about, but I want you to know that this is a supportive platform, and we really just want to hear what you've gone through and give you the opportunity to share that and have others hear so that they too can recognize if they've experienced something close or similar to this. So,
Okay.
as we start in our conversation here, are you ready to get going?
I'm ready, I guess, as I'll ever be. I'm nervous still, but um,
Sure, it's
you're used to
understandable.
doing this. I'm
Well,
not.
well, and that's the thing. I want, hopefully we can help you be comfortable with it. It is hard to share this because, from what I understand in speaking to you, you've shared this or these experiences with next to nobody. Your husband and maybe one or two others. Is that about right?
Family, close friends. Yep, that's,
Yeah,
that's about it.
that's understandable. Yeah. So, this experience that we're going to start off with is with you being about the age of 8 or 9. Can you tell me, do you recall having any strange or similar experiences before that point in your life? Or is this really when it all started?
This is when it started. I can't remember anything else before that, but when
Okay.
I was 8 or 9, I remember going to my mom and I had told her that I saw a lady in a tube, in a horizontal in a black tube, immersed in a clear gel substance. I don't know. it was like Jello, I guess. And she just
Yeah.
brushed it off. She says, "Oh, you just had a dream." And I says, "No, no, Mom, I saw a lady in the tube." And she just kept brushing it off. And so I let it go. I just didn't give it any more thought.
Yeah.
And looking back, I can understand, as a mom myself, I can understand now. Um, her thinking that it was just, brushing off and thinking it was just a dream. Because, I mean,
Sure.
what else could it have been? I mean, I would probably tell
Right.
my child the same thing, but I've always,
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
yes, I've always kept that memory. And I don't know about anybody else, but going through my life, I don't remember very many dreams. Nothing,
Yeah.
especially nothing as profound as that. You just don't remember
Yeah.
dreams.
Exactly.
But I can
Yeah. So this.
remember. What's that? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounds like this was impactful enough that all these many years later, it still holds a heavy and deep place in your mind.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I can still remember the details. She was young, in her late teens, maybe early 20s. She had a bikini on. She had auburn
Mhm.
hair about shoulder length. She was pretty young lady. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like she was just plucked up off a beach. And I think about it, a friend told me that, asked me if anybody was missing at that time. But I thought, as fast as UFOs go, if
Yeah.
she was taken, she could have been from anywhere around the world. She wouldn't have necessarily have been there in Michigan where this
Yeah.
happened, where I grew up. So
Well, and as a child too, your ability to think about, hey, let me see if there's anybody reported missing. Most kids aren't going to think
you don't
about
think
that.
about that.
Like later you would, but maybe not at that point. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's dive into this just a little bit. Um, so that the listeners can get a better feel for what it is you saw. Let's describe it out a little bit. So you said a tube. Is this kind of like a coffin, or a some kind of a something that a person would lay down in? Is this what she was doing? She was laying down
Yes, she's laid
inside some
down.
clear or brown tube.
Yes, it seems like it was dark, like a black cylindrical
Okay.
tube. And I don't know if it had a clear cover to it, but I remember she was in some kind of clear gel, like a jello.
Yeah.
I don't know why
And was it?
I don't know how to
Please go
express
ahead.
myself. I don't know why I would know that, if it was
Yeah.
just water or gel.
It just appeared that way to you at that point, that it was viscous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did the casing, the tube that she was in, did it have a window or opening by her face that you could see? Now you did say it
I
looked like she was wearing a bikini, so maybe the whole top of it
yeah,
was clear.
I could
Do you
see
remember?
her whole body. Yeah, I could see her whole body
Okay.
in this tube. It's
Did she seem at peace, like asleep, relaxed, or
Yeah,
do you remember any of that?
yeah, yeah. She's just laying
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So I hope she was alive.
Yeah. So you have this vivid dream, and you wake up, you're young, and then you say to your mother, "Hey, this is weird. I saw this, as I was sleeping." And she doesn't, she, like most parents, like you were saying, she's thinking, okay, it's okay, you'll be all right. You had a dream.
Yeah.
Going forward from that point, you kind of shelved it because you listened to your mom and you said, okay, yeah, maybe it was just a
Yeah.
dream. Did these thoughts and this memory uh, emerge at any point in the years after that?
Yeah, it came and went. At times I thought about it and just brushed it off until last summer, early fall. I was reading this book I bought called Secret Life. I don't remember the name of the author, and my son has got the book now. He's reading it. So it
Mhm.
was a very good book, really interesting. So I'm reading this book,
Yeah.
and on a page, it talks about, well, the book is about people that have experienced things, have been taken, and they've been hypnotized so they could
Mhm.
recall things more in detail. They knew something was strange, something happened, but they didn't know
Yeah.
what. And so they've been hypnotized. And one of the hurt people that was hypnotized came out with it. They said that they had seen babies in tubes in a clear gel
Mm.
substance. Like I saw this woman, and uh, I thought, oh my God, maybe I was
Yeah.
taken when I was 8 or 9, and because how would I know this clear gel substance? It's the same thing that they described as. I thought there's something more to it. This is not just a dream. This has got to be a memory. So I told
Yeah.
my sister, and she says, you need to get hypnotized. But I I will not do that because after reading the back of the book of the people that have been hypnotized, a lot of them regret getting hypnotized because it brought up traumatic things that happened to them, during their abduction. And I don't want that.
Yeah.
So I told her no. I decided I will not get hypnotized. I'd rather not know.
Yeah. So you're worried about the impact of seeing something again in your mind beyond the dream.
Yeah, something that might be traumatic. I wouldn't think if I was that um, beings would hurt a child, but I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of the unknown in that area. So, do you feel like I know we're going to talk about another experience of uh, 8 or so years later in a minute, but do you think, um, aside from the experience itself, did you um, get any kind of additional sensitivities to it? So, the reason, let me explain what I mean. Sometimes when people have experiences, paranormal, otherwise, near death experiences, just different things, they are sensitive and open and are intuitive about things that they weren't before. Did you experience anything after that, or have you in your later years, do you think?
Well, I I I guess I'm an empath, and I just know things. I can look at a picture of somebody and know things about them. I can just see somebody once and know things. I can pick up on things about somebody if just by hearing a voice on the phone. I just feel and
Mhm.
know things throughout my life. And
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like it
Do
could.
you stem it?
Do I stem
Do
it
you
from
stem it to
that
this, or is
event?
it
I don't know. I don't know. I
okay?
don't know where it come from. I know my cousin is the same way, and my grandpa, and this is all on my dad's side. He was the same way,
Yeah.
and
So the cousin that you made reference to right here, I know we may talk about her a little later. Is that the cousin you're talking about who has the same capability?
yes, yes,
Okay, interesting. Okay, okay. So we should be able to tie that together a little bit later in the conversation because it sounds like some stuff she's experienced may be stuff you've experienced, and now you both recognize something. And you're saying your grandfather did too, which is interesting.
But
Okay.
he never talked
How
about,
about,
he never talked about,
what was that?
my grandpa never talked about aliens or, UFOs or anything, different.
Yeah.
But I realized too,
How do you guys,
people didn't.
yeah, right. I was going to ask, how do you know, or your cousin know, that he also experienced these things? Did he share those abilities with the family?
Well, I was talking to my sister one day and I asked her, I says, do you know of anybody else in the family that has these abilities like me? And she says, well, grandpa did. And I says,
Yeah,
oh, I didn't realize that. So,
that's
and then
interesting.
after talking with my cousin, I find out she does. And then after going to a MUFON meeting, I find out that it's like generational. And so we talking further with my cousin about all this, she says she thinks that possibly it comes from these beings. So that leaves me with
Right.
wondering if my grandpa was taken too.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's interesting. And so when you heard that he was also sensitive and had these abilities, had he already passed by that point?
Yes, he's been gone for years and years.
Okay. Okay. I was just, yeah, asking in case there was an opportunity to talk with him before he had moved on, but sounds like not. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get into what your cousin thinks and her experience as well. But your next experience is in 1975, if I recall correctly,
Yes.
October. Do you want to take us there and talk about that one?
Okay, so it was in October of 1975. I was 16. My boyfriend was 18. And he was driving. We were headed up to Idaho for the weekend. It's on a Friday night. So we were headed up there to see his family. And we got a late start and we're driving along. And I'm thinking that we were in the Lad Pass. I'm not sure exactly the location, but it was dark. And there was, sparse cars, sparsely on the road. There just wasn't a lot of traffic at all. I mean, that time of night, because it seems like it was about 10
Yeah.
o'clock. I'm not certain. This has been so many years ago. Um, but so we're going along, and all of a sudden, this thing just appears. This huge metallic disc thing just appears over the car. And it's just following us. It stays with us for a few minutes. And my boyfriend is screaming, "What is it? What is it?" And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this has got to make sense. This has got to make sense. I'm nervous. So I roll down the
Yeah.
window and I look up at it and I'm trying to figure this thing out. And it was huge and it made no sound whatsoever. There was like no sense of propulsion anywhere. They had clear lights. Okay, so I'm like, okay, this it's not a helicopter, it's not a plane, and he's yelling again, and I don't know, I don't know. I'm telling him.
Yeah.
So this thing is following us, and we're getting real nervous, and then all of a sudden it kind of sharp veer to the right, and it's for a few seconds, and then it takes off, just whoosh. I mean, it was gone. I'd never seen anything move that fast, and I know just
Hmm.
from what I've learned over the years by watching different things and reading things, articles on UFOs, and that we don't have that technology, and I'm sure we certainly didn't have it in 1975 to go that fast.
Right. Right. Let's let's create a mental picture of this experience. So when you see this uh, spacecraft entity, whatever it is, and it's over you. How did you recognize it? Did it shoot up from behind you and you saw it, or was it
It's like it just appeared.
blocking the moonlight? Yeah. So
It's like
it just appeared,
yeah, it seemed like it just
materialized.
appeared, and it wasn't. This isn't like something you see on TV, like in the distance, a few miles, and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out what it was, a light or balloon, this or that. This thing was right above us, a couple 100 feet. It just seemed like it was just
And
there.
so let's go through your feelings at the moment. Did you feel something different that made you go, "What's out there?" Did you see any reaction to foliage or anything as you're driving, or was the moonlight blocked out? What made you see this thing above you? Like what was the initial thing that caused you to go, "Whoa, what is that?"
Because it was so big, you could see it through the windshield. I mean, it was just
Oh,
huge. It was big and had
oh
lights.
wow! So just from your windshield, you could see the front of the craft, and then you said, "What is that?" And you looked out,
Yeah,
and you could see it's just over top of you. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Was it following you, paralleling your speed, like hovering completely over you at the same speed, and then it takes off?
Yeah, yeah, it was
Um,
staying right with us.
yeah,
And like I said, it didn't make
interesting.
any sound. It was just,
Yeah,
and I never, I mean, here I am 16 years old. I never given anything like that any thought. I never, thought about UFOs or
yeah,
anything, just living my life like a normal teenager and never gave that any
yeah,
thought. And so after this happened, it's like we looked at each other and it was like almost like a silent oath that we're not telling anybody. Nobody's,
yeah,
and we didn't. We just let it go and I
yeah.
never told anybody until I married my husband.
Wow. So the experience itself with the craft over your vehicle, you're driving, right? You're saying you're driving. So
Well, I'm not
you're not
driving.
sitting still, you're driving.
He's driving.
Sorry, he was driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's over your vehicle. And would you say, how much time would you say it hover or it followed you overhead before it took off?
It wasn't very
Are we
long.
talking 10 seconds or something?
No, probably a few minutes. Just a few minutes, maybe
Oh, really?
5 minutes.
That's quite a bit of time. So
Yeah,
it's almost like it was looking down at you. Yeah.
I think so.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But
That's
as far as
crazy.
I
Wow.
know, we didn't have any missing time.
Yeah.
Whereas, a lot
Yeah,
of people
that
do.
was going to be my next question. That was going to be my next question is, do you guys feel like anything beyond that happened? And you're saying no missing time, you didn't feel differently? Everything
No,
was just,
no,
it
I
was a
didn't.
visual experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel any different. Like something happened, and we just weren't. We just didn't know what. I don't feel that way. I don't think
Yeah.
anything. I don't think we were taken.
So this young man and you decide, yeah, we don't know what that was. We're not talking about it. And
Right.
it has never come up after that, right? And
No, no.
obviously, these are many, many years later, so you probably have lost contact with this person. But
Yeah.
is it someone that you may have had a chance to talk to about this later as you became adults?
Oh yeah, yeah. But he lives
And
somewhere else in another state, and I'm not in contact with him in any way.
gotcha. Okay. So there wasn't an opportunity to revisit it. I see. Yeah. I'm curious, like, how his life path was after that, right? Or maybe, some people can just put it away and say, yeah, I don't know how to explain that. I'm going to put that away. And it sounds like you did a little bit of that too,
Yeah, because
until
I
you
didn't
did
want
some
people to
studying
think.
and reading, right?
Yeah, I didn't want people to think I was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's what's amazing about this time frame in history is that now people are coming out and opening up about these kinds of things and allowing and making it more comfortable for everybody else to do the same. So
Yes, because
that's
it
great.
just
And
amazes
you're
me.
doing that right now.
Yeah,
You're doing that right now. So I'm very happy about that.
and I am too.
Okay.
I'm so glad that people are finally, coming out more, and people have, phones that they can take pictures and video at the time where we didn't have that back then, or I would have done that.
Right.
But I am
Right.
so grateful that more people are stepping up. They're coming out and they're, because I thought, this is really, really rare. I didn't know that there's, so many more people out there, and they probably felt the same way. They were afraid to talk, thinking people are going to think they're crazy. So,
Yes. Yes. Well, and it's interesting in this way. There is a author I'm about to interview soon, and the episode will be coming a little bit after this will air, where there's going to be some really interesting information about our military's interaction with UAP and UFO in history. And I learned some things that I really did not know about that in some ways are troubling. So people will have to listen to that. But my point bringing it up is that we only know what we know, right? So it's like you said earlier, people don't or didn't talk about things, and now it's coming out. And a lot of times we think, oh, these are interesting. There are lights in the sky, or some people have seen a vessel. But really, there's a lot more going on, and that stuff's now coming to light
oh,
in
yeah,
this day and age. And I think it's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. This is at this point that we're talking about that experience in 1975. You are 16 at the time. Um, were you able to effectively put it away mentally, or did you experience any emotional uh, issues? Maybe you were nervous to walk outside by yourself. Was there anything like that going on, or were you able to put this away and kind of shelve it for years?
I just put it away, and I never had
Yeah.
any repercussions from it, or, I never gave it any thought then. I just let it go.
Okay. Well, I'm glad because that could have been a tough thing. Like you were saying, you'd never seen anything like that. And some kids could have struggled with it. So I'm glad you were able to put that away. But hey, here it is. It's coming out again. So it's one of those things that
Well,
it's unresolved, right?
yeah, well, it's been since all these shows have come on TV. These phenomenons and ancient aliens, and all these different shows. Unexplained. I love those shows, and that's where I
Yeah.
learned a lot of this stuff. And it, I think it's been, yeah, I've learned a lot more.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. The this didn't impact you so much as a teenage, I mean, as a 20 something and a 30 something and so on. But at this point in your life, as you're re-looking at it and hearing and seeing and reading other experiences, how has this impacted or influenced the way you see the world and everything from space to God to spirits to all that? Does it impact the way you think about some of these things?
it it's just mind-boggling because it just brings up so many more questions about what's out there, and if we're all connected to God,
Yeah.
and learning that there's different beings. It, it's
Yeah.
just mind-boggling to me because you think about how massive the universe is. It's just not. I don't think it's just one universe. It's universes. That's what I've read. And galaxies, and the possibilities of
Yeah.
what all is out there, and where, and how many more planets are out there, and is there still just our one God that rules over
Right.
all all of us, on earth he does, but and there are these people, these beings, fallen angels.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Lisa, are you a religious person, or and I ask this for this one reason. Um, if you are if you're practicing some religious tradition and it's things are taught right in that tradition,
Mhm.
this doesn't always fit with that, meaning, UFOs and all
Right.
that. I'm just curious where you are on that, and how you feel about those things.
Okay, I don't belong to any one religion. I've been baptized, but
Okay.
I I don't go to church until I feel 100% certain that one religion or another is 100% true. I will not dedicate
Yeah.
myself to any one religion. So I just figure as long as I'm doing what God expects of me and try to be my best that I can be each day I wake up and be a kind person, caring and giving, and just, do what's expected and to
Yeah.
please Heavenly
Yeah.
Father. Because I
Yeah.
want to be worthy to one day when I pass to be up there again, if that's where we originated from. Supposedly we were there before. He knew us before, and we came down here in body
Yeah.
form. So, I mean, there's things I still question, but I just figure just get up and do your best each day, thrive to be a better person, and that's all you can do. We're all imperfect humans.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's a healthy view on things. And, you're trying to continually be the best you can be, but you're also open enough and maybe because you have no choice because you've experienced some things, but you're open enough to say, okay, the picture is very big and I'm willing to understand it. But I'm also understanding and having faith in, yeah, God and that sort of thing. So you have placed these things in your life in a way that works for you at this point, it sounds like.
Hopefully, God is okay with that. That I don't
Yeah.
congregate. I don't go to an actual church. Hopefully, it's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Good information. Thank you for sharing that. And I know some of that's just some personal beliefs and stuff.
That's
But
okay.
uh, you also have a cousin that we made reference to a few minutes ago, who has experienced something and and believes that it means something. Are you willing to talk about her experience a little bit and what she thinks about this?
Yeah. So I got talking with her, and they had lived all over different places. Her dad was in the Air
Mhm.
Force, and when they lived on this Christmas tree farm with many, many acres, her and her mom and the other brother and sister would see things all the time. They would see, they'd even seen inside the windows with the beings. And their dad didn't believe it. He brushed it off. He says, I've been in the Air Force, all these years, and I ain't never seen anything. So he didn't believe it. And one night he went outside for a few minutes, came back in, and he had seen something, and they knew it. And I guess he told him, and he never teased him again. He never said any more about it. And then
Yeah.
um, she she'd be asleep in her room and wake up because there's a bright light. She'd have her eyes closed, but you know how you can see light through your eyelids. There's
Yeah.
a light, and she said
Yes.
she was afraid of it. She didn't want to open her eyes, and this happened a few times. And she says she could hear a voice telling her, "Don't fear the light." And then she remembers one time she was taken, like she was moved, but she kept her eyes closed. And she finally got up the courage to open her eyes, and she looked around and she said there was things hanging, and she saw creatures. And I mean, that's
Hmm.
scary for
Okay.
me. Um,
Yeah. Let's. I don't know how much detail you have there, but things hanging. Did she tell you what she saw?
no, she just says there's things hanging, so I'm picturing it just, I don't know. She didn't really go
Yeah.
into detail, but after comparing her experiences and my experiences, she said that her mom had been taken too, and she'd been taken then. And so we got,
Okay.
wondering after I told her that. I learned that it's generational from that MUFON meeting. It's generational, and
Mhm.
I says maybe Grandpa was taken too. I just never talked about it.
Yeah. And she's in agreement with you, like she's
Yeah,
thinking this has happened to her.
yeah,
Yeah.
and because he had those senses too, and we're the only ones
Okay.
that I
Interesting.
know of in the family on that side that has them.
Yeah. Okay, that's important, right? Like, so for people listening, if you've experienced something, um, or you feel that you have some capability stemming from some of this stuff, is there anybody else who's quietly experiencing that in your family? And that's interesting and very, like, I was going to say comforting, but I guess not. It just depends. But you could be in the same situation as somebody else, your cousin or whatever, and that would be good to know, so you don't feel such alone in some of this. So
Yeah, yeah, I was so glad to hear. Well, not glad. I mean, it's not something you want. Not every just don't wish upon
yeah,
everybody. I mean, not that it's
Lisa,
bad.
I was going to ask when were you made aware of your cousin's experience and feelings on what has happened to her? Is this something you've known for a long time, or has it just been since you've been re-looking at things?
This has just been within the past year. Yeah,
Oh,
just
wow.
the past year.
Does she feel pretty comforted that she can share this with somebody too now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
older than me. She lives in Texas, so I haven't seen her for years. So it's nice reconnecting with her, and we get talking, and that's when I found out all this.
Wow. Okay. Well, Lisa, you also had something, I don't know if it's related to your previous experiences, but you've had a handful of things happen in Idaho, like some episodes of sleep paralysis.
Yes,
Did you want to talk to us about that? Okay.
sure. I would just be laying in bed, and I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Just for a few minutes, it took a while to like come out of it. It happened about a handful of times, and reading up on some of these signs or of being taken, that was one of them. But
Hmm.
I don't recall anything, you know, out of the normal other than the sleep paralysis. I didn't get a weird feeling that okay, something's happened to me, and I just don't know what. Just the
Yeah.
sleep paralysis. But then too, every once in a great often, I will have episodes of night terrors, and I don't
Hmm.
even know why, because it's not like I'm dreaming anything. I won't even be. I don't even dream anything. and I will just start screaming and yelling, and my husband would have to wake me up. I don't know why
Hmm.
that happens. Maybe it's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of this, you just try to connect the dots, and it's just got me.
So I wish I knew more about the night terrors. Let's go to that in a minute. Let's talk about the sleep paralysis first. It's happened a handful of times. Did it happen over periods of weeks, months, years, or was it clustered in a short period of time?
I don't know. This was when I lived in Idaho. It
Okay.
was at an apartment I was living at. Prob- it was just over probably a couple of years. Yeah, because then I moved
Okay.
back down here. So it couldn't have been more
So
than
were
2 years.
this is maybe in your 20s, something like that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So okay, it's been a while back. Okay, and so no more sleep paralysis since maybe your 20s, 30s, but these night terrors are now something that's happened more recently.
Yes, yeah. They, yeah, I still get them every once in a great while. And like I said, my husband would have to wake me up, and he didn't want to. And I tell him, please, yes, wake me
Yeah.
up. Yes, I don't like this. I hate this. It's scary. I don't like this. Wake me up.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're having these events, and this is a handful of times, or is it, you know, 4 times a year, or what would you say is the frequency for the night terrors?
Um, okay, I'm thinking this has happened about 3 times in the past three and a
Okay.
half years since he passed away. Um,
Okay.
I've had him probably 3 times. And
Okay.
in the
So
one,
you had them occasionally when he was with you, and then he passed away 3 years ago, and you've had him 3 more times. Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
yeah. And I remember the one time, the
Okay.
first time I had it since he died was I couldn't wake myself up. And it's like my mom, she's passed. Um, it's like she was then in my dream, and she was sitting in a chair by my bed, and it comforted me enough that I could wake myself up then.
Yeah. Interesting. So, do you have you have no memories around this before you catch yourself awake and screaming?
No, no. It's like I'm not, I
Okay.
don't even know if I'm dreaming. I don't even think I'm dreaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So you're
strange.
almost in a weird place as you get up that you're disoriented. Like, am I asleep? Am I awake? Is that kind of how it feels when you first come to?
No, I know I'm awake then, and I'm grateful. I'm glad that I'm out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's almost like you feel that you've pulled yourself out of something when
Yeah,
you're awake.
it's a
Okay.
relief.
Ooh, wish I knew more about the night terrors. That's
I do
very interesting.
too.
Don't know what they stem from. I will make a note to try to find some more information about that. Very good. Well, so let me ask you this. You're, you've done some reading. You spent some time pondering, researching some things in recent years. Do you have a theory, um, or do you strongly believe what's going on here? What's happened to you, and what's going on in scenarios like this?
I, well, I believe there is stuff going on out there that just can't be explained. I don't know why
Yeah.
they're here, why they're coming and going, but I definitely know they are. And I don't know if they come here to help us, or I've heard that the government has gotten technology from them, reverse technology from them, these beings, like microwaves, laser surgeries, things like that. Um,
Yeah.
what's that called? Night vision. That
Yeah. Yeah.
so. I mean, I do feel there. I mean, I know I'm 100% certain that they're here. They'll continue to be here. They've been coming and going for probably thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And those are feelings based on research and other things like that, not some communication you've received, correct?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
You
sense.
you believe in
Yeah,
those,
there's
right?
a lot of
You've probably read enough,
yeah, oh
and
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I
this
don't,
this topic's fascinating to me. I don't even think there's a question that this exists.
exactly.
It's really about just helping people understand how much of this information is out there because it's been stigmatized and for a long time.
Hmm.
And it's like you said earlier. You didn't want people to think you were crazy, and this is the tactic. I think I'll call it a tactic that's been used since probably the 1940s to make people keep quiet about things they experience. So
Exactly.
yeah, I'm with you. I definitely believe that there is a lot of information here, and I like to see people open up about it. I've known people very closed about this subject, and in recent years are opening up, and I like that because there's nothing worse than being in a position where you don't even know a reality next to you is next to you. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Right.
crazy.
Right. Well, I
So
know I
are
about.
we sorry,
I
go right
feel
ahead.
good
I'm sorry.
about
I cut you off.
over the past few years, bringing this stuff out. I It's probably been 35 years since I told my husband. So I,
Yeah.
he was skeptical, but I thought he married me. He would know if I was crazy.
Right, right. That's so true. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's to me, I think it's important to talk about these things. So I want to thank you again for sharing all that you've shared here today. And I want to say to everybody out there, have you ever wondered, are we like a animal in the zoo being observed by something much smarter, much more intelligent than us?
Yes.
Um, if that thought makes you feel weird or bothers you, then you should look into these subjects because they're real. Now, if you can mull along and not think much about stuff like that, then that's fine. But I think there's a lot of people that are interested in knowing what is around us because we're just starting to see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I figure we're not going to find out everything in this world while we're here, but when we move on, when we pass, hopefully we'll find out all these answers to things.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
Yes.
anyway.
Me too. That's why we do what we do, right? Research and talk to people and try to figure it out.
Yep.
Well, Lisa, this has been great. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing. Before we wrap up on this episode here, I want to just give you another opportunity to say or share anything to the audience if you feel that you want to do so. Is there anything you'd like to say at this point?
I can't really think of anything. You caught me off guard, or I would have thought about
Sure,
that
sure.
before I got on here. I probably, you know how it
No,
is.
no, that's
Then after you're done,
yeah,
then you
yeah,
think, oh,
absolutely
I could have said this and I could have said that.
right.
But yeah, I can't
Well,
think of
look, no, the
it.
important thing I think the important thing is you sharing what you've experienced and helping people kind of consider, you know. what's out there and what's going on. And there's probably some people out there who've experienced stuff and are going, wow, maybe I can tell somebody.
Yeah.
I did have that happen to me or whatever. So that's powerful. And I want to thank you for that.
Well, I
So,
encourage people to. I
well,
hope this opens their minds, and they do
absolutely.
get curious and
Absolutely.
want to know more because, too many people go around in this world with closed minds, and there's so much out there that we haven't even begun to know, what goes on in the oceans. And I mean, I believe there's bases in the oceans and in mountains and wherever else, and they're coming and going, and there's just so
Yeah,
much
there's
more out
definitely
there
evidence.
that we haven't even tapped into.
Yeah, there's definitely evidence out there for a lot of these things. And I'll go a step past that and actually say there is a lot of strange things going on, not only with paranormal or UAP, but just all around us, people,
Yes.
society, and government, and all kinds of things. So there's tons of things that people, and I'm a big sports guy, but let's pull away from some of those things every now and then and just open up our eyes and see what's going on. They'll be surprised when they see it.
Yeah.
So, well, Lisa, thank you again so much for meeting with us. I'm going to keep you on the line for a minute as I close down the episode here. But for everybody else out there, I want to ask you to remember there's a lot of strange and unexpected in our reality. So always keep your eyes, ears, and minds open. And until next time, stay safe.
Thank you for listening to High Strangeness. This was a glance at some of the strange that exists in our reality.